Okay, welcome back to another episode of Third and 23. I'm your host, Alex, here to bring you another off-season video as we continue to move towards the 2025 football season. This video, I'm going to be talking NFL, specifically NFL surprise teams. You know, every year you get a team that kind of comes out of nowhere and makes a lot of noise, or a team that just improved a lot from the beginning of the season to the end of the season. Examples of that, Minnesota Vikings last year. Nobody saw that playoff run coming. Carolina Panthers, worst team in the NFL for the first half of the season, and then they go on a nice little stretch of playing better football and losses and then pulling off some W's. So you see that all the time in the NFL. And in this video, I'm going to give you three teams with their over-under win totals that I think are going to surprise and finish above or have potential to finish above the Vegas odds. So let's go ahead and get into it. Let's start it off in the NFC with the Atlanta Falcons. Now, this one might surprise you because it surprised me. Atlanta is actually, their over-under win total is actually 7.5. That's pretty low. When you think about Atlanta, first thing I think about is the NFC South, right? So you probably think that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to win the South. I think the Buccaneers are going to win the South. Most people think the Buccaneers are going to win the South. But if the Bucs win the South, you got to think the Falcons are going to take second, right? Can't be the Saints. They're going to be horrible. Carolina, I don't think people are thinking they're making that big of a jump. So you got to think the Falcons are going to take second. And second means second team in the South, 7 wins, 6 wins. That doesn't make any sense to me. That somebody's going to do better than that. I mean, Atlanta looks like the team to me. So first thing, we look at their offense. It was the top 10 offense last season. Bijan Robinson ran for over 1,400 yards. Drake London is probably one of the most underrated receivers in the league. He had over 1,200 yards receiving. Darnell Mooney had over 900 yards last year in the number 2 spot. Makes a lot of big plays down the field that I think a lot of that goes unnoticed. So are they going to have what you would call their triplets? You know, you think back to the Cowboys days in the 90s when they had Aikman, Emmett, and Irvin, right? So do you have a quarterback, a running back, and a receiver, a wide receiver 1? Well, they got the wide receiver 1 in Drake London. They got the running back in Bijan Robinson, one of the best running backs in the league. Is Michael Penix going to be the third part of that trio? He showed flashes late last year in his rookie season, 737 yards and 3 touchdowns in his last 3 games. They went 1-2, but both games went to OT, and you can't necessarily put that on him. The biggest issue for Atlanta last season was the defense. They were one of the worst defenses in the NFL in terms of getting pressure on the quarterback. That led to 31st in passing touchdowns allowed, 31st in sacks. They just weren't, QBs were sitting back there and being able to pick off their secondary. So what the defense do? They added first round front 7 players. Jalen Walker is an absolute stud to me. They can play him in multiple positions, but he's a game record to me. And James Pierce was probably the best pure pass rusher in this NFL draft. So those 2 first round picks that they got to shore up the defense. And then when you're looking at who's gonna make a run, when you look at that, schedule plays a big role in that. Look at this second half schedule for the Falcons. They're gonna play the Saints twice, Carolina, the Jets, and the Seahawks. Saints, Jets, and Seahawks. That's 3 of probably the worst 5 or 6 teams in the NFL in 2025, in my opinion. And I don't think Carolina. There might be some, gas behind them in this offseason, but I don't think they're gonna make that big of a jump. But I'm just not that big of a believer in Bryce Young, but we'll see how that turns out. Regardless, that second half of the schedule, that's 5 games that could easily be 5-0. When you're going on that playoff push, that playoff run, that could really help out a team like the Atlanta Falcons. But when you're talking about this win total, 7.5, I like Atlanta to definitely be able to clear that. Now let's move on to the next team. We're going to go over to the AFC. We're going to talk the New England Patriots. Now this one's not surprising to Vegas. I thought the Vegas number would have been low. I thought maybe I'm the only one who knows about the Patriots this year, or knows what I know about the Patriots this year. But their win total is coming in at 8.5. So Vegas is already seeing what New England's got cooking. And the biggest thing for me is I'm going to skip all the way down to the charming, soft schedule. This schedule is a joke that New England plays. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I would not be shocked if this is the easiest schedule in the NFL in 2025. Saints, Jets twice, Browns, Giants, Titans. They play all of these teams next season or this coming season. That's 6 wins to me. That's 6-0 right there. But now let's talk about why I think they would win those games. You got Drake May. Drake May's coming off a promising rookie year, 15 touchdowns, 66 completion percentage, 420 yards rushing, 2,200 yards passing. I know some people who might see a Bo Nix video and they'll think, man, you kind of dog Bo Nix. Different kind of team. And Drake May didn't have any kind of help last year, offensively or defensively, and he was still putting up work, trying to keep it, doing what he could to keep his team in the game. Now he gets help this season. He gets help in the form of offensive coordinator Josh McDaniels. Josh McDaniels, I know he had Tom Brady, so it's easy to look good, but Josh McDaniels is known as an kind of an offensive guru and a great quarterback coach in the NFL. So I think it's going to really help out Drake May. They also bring in Stephon Diggs. I don't think Stephon Diggs isn't the guy that he once was. I knew that when Buffalo let him walk. He's still not that guy. I mean, he's never going to be that guy again, right? But he's still a better wide receiver one option than what New England had last season. And then you got to say they bring on Mike Vrabel as the head coach. Now, I think they did Gerard Mayo dirty. They only gave him the 1 year. But all of that is going to be forgotten if Mike Vrabel is the guy that he was in Tennessee, a type of guy who not always, but typically had his team in the playoff chase. I mean, he took Tennessee to the AFC Championship game 1 year. So if he's that guy in New England, things are going to be forgotten about Gerard Mayo. And I think Mike Vrabel is one of the better coaches out there. He didn't have a lot to work with in Tennessee, and he still had a lot of success there. You do have some concerns. I know they added, like I said, they added Stephon Diggs, even though he's kind of on the downslope of his career. Well, not kind of, he is. They also added Trevion Henderson at running back in the NFL draft in the second round pick. I think he's better than Ramondre Stevenson. I think at some point this year, Hendo ends up being the starting running back. But still, that's not enough firepower to help out Drake May. So that is a concern. And then they have the new defensive coordinator with obviously Vrabel bringing on his new staff. Terrell Williams, he's never been a DC before. He was Vrabel's D-line coach for all 6 years. Vrabel was in Tennessee. So this is a new spot for him. You don't know what to expect. And he's taking over a defense that didn't perform well last season. So those are some concerns. But when I look at that schedule and all those teams I have listed there, they have a way bigger concerns than New England Patriots have. That 8.5, this is a team that could make the playoffs. And if they make the playoffs, they're doing better than 8 wins. So I like the Patriots next year as a team that's better than what you think. And then finally, third and final team, we're going to stay in the AFC, and we're going to go to a team that most people probably would not have expected to see here, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Win total coming in at 7.5. I think they're a legitimate AFC South contender. When you think about the AFC South, there's tons of issues all over the place. Houston, they only got one wide receiver, and C.J. Stroud, in my opinion, had a big-time sophomore slump. Indy, we don't know what they're going to be at quarterback, and they have a bad defense. And then Tennessee, they're going to start a rookie quarterback, and they're going to be the worst team in the AFC South. So things are up in the air. I think anybody can come up there and steal the AFC South away from Houston, or Houston can repeat. But I don't think that's something that's set in stone. So first thing, we're looking at Jacksonville. They bring on a new head coach, Liam Cohen. He was the OC for Tampa last season. He helped revitalize Baker Mayfield's career. He had that Bucs offense very balanced, had a three-headed monster at running back. Baker Mayfield looked good, hitting off Godwin and Mike Evans and Jalen McMillan. And now he comes to Jacksonville, and he has, I think, some of the pieces to kind of do something similar to that. First, that running back room. ATN, Bigsby by themselves, not that great. But combine them with a very good rookie in Basil Tootin, who's not getting talked about at all, but he should be. I think you have the makings of a three-headed running back room similar to what he had in Tampa, because each one of these guys, ATN, Bigsby, and Tootin, do something well and do something different than the other running backs do. He has a legitimate number one wide receiver, so he's got his Mike Evans here in Jacksonville, and that's in Brian Thomas. And then they go into the draft and draft the best player in the draft in Travis Hunter. I think he should be at corner, but they're putting him at receiver. That's going to be an explosive athletic talent on the outside to pair with Brian Thomas. And now it's about Trevor Lawrence. Is Trevor Lawrence going to stay healthy? He didn't stay healthy last season, and he wasn't that great when he was on the field. And in my opinion, he hasn't really been that great since he's been in the NFL. But he's got a better coach now in Liam Cohen than I think he's had up to this point in his career. If he stays healthy with legit targets on the outside, I think you're going to see Trevor Lawrence's best season to date. And now we talk about schedule. Remember, 7.5 is the win total here. Check out their last 6 games. This is the type of stretch run for a team to steal a playoff spot. In their last 6 games, they played these 5 teams. They played the Titans twice, taking dead last in the AFC South. Played the Colts twice. It's up in the air on what they're going to finish, but they're about similar to Jacksonville. And then they play the Jets, who's going to be drafting in the top 3. The other team they play is Denver. Certainly a winnable game, but on the road late in the season, probably not, right? Still, 5 of those last 6 games. If they go 5-1, they're going to clear that 7.5. But this team might actually end up stealing a playoff spot. So I think this is a team that could be in the mix late in the year. But in terms of 7.5 wins, I think Jacksonville has a real shot at clearing that in 2025. So, anyways, that wraps it up. If you agree, disagree, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, all of that, as you're going to continue to see more off-season videos as we continue to march towards the start of the season. Take care.